Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Hiking Journal. In today's episode, I take a drive out to the lower Sonoran Desert of California and explore Dead Indian Canyon. Located only about 30 minutes southeast of Palm Springs, my adventure starts off the Palms to Pines Highway just outside of Palm Desert in the Santa Rosa and San Jacinto National Monument. From the large trailhead parking lot for the Art Smith Trail, I head away from the trail and work my way deep into the canyon to visit a scenic palm grove tucked in amongst the canyon walls. Hopefully I'll get a chance to spot some of the elusive peninsular bighorn sheep. Desert bighorn sheep inhabit the rocky slopes, cliffs, canyons, and washes. Like other bighorn sheep, they prefer the rugged and open habitat, and they use their climbing abilities, their vigilance, and excellent vision to detect and escape from predators. As far as hikes go, this is an easy one, or so I thought. It's only about a 2.5 mile round-trip hike with a mild 250 feet of elevation gain. What I found out, though, was that it's all in a deep sandy wash, topped off with some tough boulder scrambling at the end, making this hike just a little more challenging than I thought it would be. Getting to the trailhead was the easy part. From my home in Temecula, I had a pleasant hour drive through Anza, California, along Highway 371, and past the Cohia Indian Casino before reaching the familiar Paradise Cafe, a popular lunch stop for motorcyclists and the northbound PCT thru hikers. From here, I headed steeply down along the Palms to Pines Highway and into the low desert. The scenic highway lives up to its name as you leave the majestic pines of the upper elevations of the Santa Rosa and San Jacinto Mountains, and finally wind your way down into the prickly pines and the desert-varnished boulders of the Sonoran Desert that have spectacular views of sprawling affluent desert golf communities like La Quinta, Indian Wells, and Rancho Mirage. Once I pulled over into the large oval Art Smith trailhead parking lot, I got out of my Jeep and stretched my legs and breathed in that hot, dry desert air. From here, the trail begins just a few feet away along the Art Smith Trail. Now, I wasn't taking the Art Smith Trail today. I'm going to save that for another day. Today I'd be heading up Canyon, Indian Canyon, to see the Palm Grove. That'll all be coming up in this edition of the Hiking Journal. On the map, it's marked Dead Indian Creek, but none of the old-timers in Coachella Valley are sure about the identity of the Indian, and it isn't really even a creek, except on those rare occasions when a flood of stormwater surges down from the mountains and fills the dry stream bed with a raging torrent. Dead Indian is one of the many scenic canyons in a long spur of mountains known as the Santa Rosa, which jut far out into the Colorado Desert and form the south rim of the Coachella Basin. Viewed from the paved highway, there is nothing about Dead Indian Canyon to distinguish it from 1,000 other desert arroyos. Smoke trees and willows grow along the bottom of the sandy channel. Creosote bushes and cacti predominate on the rocky slopes above the waterline, and higher up on the bordering ridges are agaves and yuccas and more cacti. Less than a quarter mile west of the highway, a broad ribbon of sand disappears behind a protruding spur of the ridge, which parallels the creek on the south. There is nothing here to interest the motorist who comes out to view the desert from their upholstered seat of their automobile. But for those who like to explore the more secluded caves and canyons, Dead Indian Canyon, beyond that spur, has everything the most adventurous heart could desire, for there, tucked away in this canyon, is a grove of native palm trees. These palms are grouped around a tiny spring. There are 22 trees in this oasis, but so closely are they huddled together that the invader seeking to reach the spring may imagine himself scrambling through the foliage of a tropical jungle. There is no established trail up this arroyo. Each hiker takes his own route, and when rain in the mountains is heavy enough to send a freshet down to the floor of the desert, all tracks are obliterated. Then, the arroyo is clean and fresh, waiting for a visitor to come along and experience all the thrills of a first discovery. At the Little Palm Oasis, the canyon forks, and here the leisurely hiker ends his trek. The whole aspect of the landscape changes abruptly. The smooth sand of the arroyo disappears beneath a jumbled pile of boulders, and the ridges on both sides close in and form a massive gorge of steep, broken walls. The hiker becomes a rock climber, or goes no further. Occasionally, one finds pieces of broken pottery or a large flat slab of granite with a mortar hole, evidence of prehistoric Indians who dwelt by the springs which water the palms. There are old Indian trails here, but time and the elements have made it impossible to follow them for any great distance. Well, hello and welcome back to another edition of the Hiking Journal. Today I'm going to be taking a hike up that way to a place known as Dead Indian Canyon, just outside of Palm Desert, California. Even though it's December 1st, it's going to be about 85 degrees. Normally I don't do hikes at noon, which is about what this is now. But I got a late start, and it's only about a 2.5 mile round trip hike. So even though it's going to be 85 degrees, it shouldn't be too bad. I've got 3 liters of water with me, so I should be fine. And, I'm heading up there to a little hidden oasis, a little California fan palm grove. I have to do a little bit of scrambling to get to. But first, I got to hike through this dry wash as part of Dead Indian Canyon. Now even though I haven't hiked that far in, at the head of the canyon I can already see the palm grove. And even though it's only 85, that sun's pretty intense. I'm lucky now I'm in kind of the shade of this hill. And believe it or not, there's just the slightest perceptible breeze. And you know what, I'll take it. Hopefully when I get further into the canyon, I'll get a little more shade. Be able to take advantage of it. As I've been hiking toward the Fan Palm Grove, I noticed that most of this trail so far has just been in the wash, and there's footprints leading you all kinds of different directions. People took several different routes, but the end is still the same. And in that last section, they did have some little small rocks lined up to give you a general idea that you're heading the right direction. As we've bursted back out into this intense sun, working our way up to the head of the canyon. And there's nobody here but me, I'm the only one. Hopefully after I get a good view of the palms, I can find a place to maybe have lunch in the shade of the fans, the palm grove up here. Well, heading down toward the end of Dead Indian Canyon, I ran into this. Looks like the remains of a bighorn sheep. Don't know where the rest of them is, but that's part of them. Well, it looks like the sandy wash portion of this adventure has ended, and now I'm down to the rock scramble. I got to get up above that rock outcrop right there to get to the grove. So now I got to pick a line that's the easiest for me to get up and around. Shouldn't be too difficult. I haven't seen any bighorn sheep yet. And we'll keep our eye out. This is about where you would see them. And of course, obviously they're camouflaged. So unless they're moving, I probably won't even see them. But I'm going to keep my eyes and ears open. There's also some very unique overhangs from the boulders. Nice place to take a break in the shade over there on a hot day. Might go check that out. This is a nice area to take a break right here in the shade. Get out of the sun for a bit. Maybe on the way back, we'll see.
Well, that's quite the little rock scramble. Got a little more to go, but there's the grove. Once I get up there, I'll take a break in the shade, get out my binoculars and see what I see. Maybe I'll tell you a little bit about the history of Dead Indian Canyon. Well, there's a little better view of the grove. Those are California fan palms, native to California and home to many creatures, birds, lizards, reptiles, insects. They all nest and live in amongst the palm fronds. Bighorn sheep come down and feed off the palm nuts that fall certain times of the year. And then up in the canyon, you can see a few more barrel cactus. When we get a little closer, I'll get a better shot of that, I hope, as we're nearing the palm grove in Dead Indian Canyon. Well, I've reached the palm grove here in Dead Indian Canyon. This is pretty much the dead end of the hike. You can continue a little further with some pretty major rock hopping on the way, but this is as far as I'm going to go today. I want to come up here, take a break in the shade. A little farther up, Dead Indian Canyon, this is actually a tributary. It's a little creek that is seasonal, and up here in the desert, seasonal means it runs for like 2 weeks after a major rain. And it forks off to the left, and up here on the right, there's Ebbets Creek, or Evans Creek, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, is also funneling into this channel, and that's why we have this canyon down here that heads down to, I guess, the Palms to Pines Highway, Highway 74. But I'm gonna take about a half hour up here, take a break, make some lunch, have a beer, enjoy the shade, and what very, very little perceptible breeze I have at the end of Dead Indian Canyon. Well, I made it up here to the Palm Grove at the very end of Dead Indian Canyon, down here in the low desert, just outside of Palm Desert, California. And I've always been interested in this location. With a name like Dead Indian Canyon, you wonder where it got its name. I did a little bit of research, couldn't find out a whole lot, but what I did discover was when the original settlers were exploring this area, they set up camp at the mouth of the canyon. And in the middle of the night, they could hear what they thought were wails and moans, eerie, spooky, scary sounds that were coming down the canyon toward the mouth from up here. And in those days, they were really worried about Indians, attack from the Cahuilla Indians and the other Indians that were out here that at the time weren't friendly. They didn't have casinos like they do now. And my pack rolls away here. And so they thought those moans and wails were haunted sounds from a spirit of a dead Indian that lived up in this canyon, and hence they named it Dead Indian Canyon. So as far as I know, there are no dead Indians up here in the canyon, but the legend lives on. And with a name like Dead Indian Canyon, it doesn't get a whole lot of traffic up here. I did see a couple of signs on the way out here, but nothing major. Small little wooden sign said trail, that was about it. And because the trail is closed from January 1st all the way to, I think, September, maybe even the end of September, the window of opportunity to come up here and hike in this canyon is very narrow. And I took the opportunity today, even though it was in the afternoon. It's 1:30 now. It only took me an hour to get here. I had to come out here and explore Dead Indian Canyon. Anyway, I'm gonna take a break here, have a beer, left over from Halloween. This is Atomic Pumpkin from New Belgium. It's got a little bit of habanero in it. How's that for a hot hike on a hot day? Have a hot habanero beer from Dead Indian Canyon. Well, since I've got some time to kill here in the palm grove, I'm gonna work my way. There's a small little sort of a trail. If I can get down the rocks here without getting hurt. And what a lot of people don't realize with these palms is they're home to hundreds and hundreds of creatures. Mice and rats. Insects love to live in these palm groves. And since that's the perfect habitat for mice and rats, guess what else likes it here? Snakes. So I've been up here a little ways, and what I noticed when I was climbing up, I should have brought my gloves. I brought them, but they're over there in my pack. These palm fronds have small little thorns in them, and the trunks of the palms themselves have little small microfiber like little thorns in them. And I tripped on a palm frond, put my hand out on one of these trunks, these burned palm trunks, got a couple of splinters. And what else you probably don't realize in this grove is this cluster of palm fronds. It makes sense when you think about it. It's not really laying on dirt. It's laying on boulders. And I went walking this way, and I fell into one. And I was waist deep, just right there. I was waist deep in palm fronds. And luckily, I didn't get hurt, and I didn't break my ankle, because this would not be a good place to be injured. It'd be really hard to find in here. And I guarantee you my GPS signal would not get out from here on my inReach. I highly doubt it. But let's go check this out. I'm gonna see if I can avoid falling in the hole again. Easier said than done. But they've got some pretty spectacular. This is about where I fell, and this is the tree that I grabbed onto. So I'm definitely not going that way. But check this out. Look at that sheer rock right there. Going straight up. And believe it or not, bighorn can run up and down that like it's nothing. There's some rock, little alluvial fan that's coming down. A lot of the rock has given way over the years and spilled out. Gravity, it's worked its way down the canyon. I'm just giving you a tour here of this little small Washington, actually California fan palm grove. So because this is at the head of this canyon, I guess it does retain water for parts of the year. That's what allows these palms to continue to grow, even though some have seen better days. Still waiting for my sheep. You know, the other thing I was going to mention was some of these rocks are granite and some are not. And even though I have Merrell boots on, they have phenomenal traction on granite. I slipped. I was climbing around up there, and I had no traction whatsoever on that rock right there, which is odd for these Merrells. So I don't know what is on these rocks. It's almost shiny. And maybe it's like a lacquer from the heat over all the years of being blasted by the sun down here. But whatever it is, it's definitely slippery. And palm fronds are also slippery. I'm trying to work my way back down here to my rock without falling and busting my neck. You know, that's another thing that's interesting up here is these little overhangs under the rocks. Definitely some interesting places to explore. Looks like there's a lot of rat droppings right there. It'd be the perfect place for a snake. Well, as I'm working my way out of Dead Indian Canyon, you can see the palm grove behind me back there. That's where I came from earlier. It was a little bit of a tougher scramble than I remembered coming back than it was going out. I must have taken a different line or something. And I'm kind of disappointed I didn't see any bighorn sheep today. That doesn't mean they're out there. I saw plenty of scat and droppings everywhere. So they've definitely been down here in this canyon, and not so much just in the palm grove, but along the dry wash here as well. I guarantee you, if you come here early in the morning, dawn or something, especially after a rain, you're more than likely going to see probably a small herd of bighorn. Not for me today, which is kind of a bummer. You know, I got here at noon, dead noon, straight up sunshine beating down on me, and you know, they're just not out. All the animals are out, usually at dawn or at dusk, and they're not up in the middle of the daytime. So don't be surprised if you see a coyote or a fox out here, rattlesnake, a jackrabbit or two. Who knows? Maybe even a bobcat up here. Who knows? But anyway, that's going to do it for this edition of the Journal, my adventure to Dead Indian Canyon near Palm Desert, California. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next episode of the Hiking Journal. Take care.
Well, that'll do it for this edition of the Hiking Journal, my solo hike up into Dead Indian Canyon. Portions of the audio were read from an article written in 1938 by Randall Henderson and published in the April edition of Desert Magazine. Even though the article was written over 83 years ago, it still holds true today. That's simply amazing. Anyway, thanks for watching this edition of the Hiking Journal, the Dead Indian Canyon Adventure. If you have any questions or comments about this edition or any other edition of the Hiking Journal, drop me a note in the comments section below. I'd love to hear about what you thought about this episode. Take care, and I'll see you in another edition of the Hiking Journal down the road. Have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Bye-bye.